Hello everyone, welcome back to your next section. Today we're going to learn more about packages and how to install them using a piece of software called pip. Pip is kind of pre-installed in Terminal, and when you download Python, it's a package manager that works in Terminal. It's super easy to use. I'll teach you how to use it. We're only going to use pip a little bit, and then most of our package management is going to be done in something called Anaconda, which you'll learn about shortly. You probably installed it in Chapter 1 already, but we'll spend more time learning about it. What you're going to do today is learn about how to import packages. So this is importing sets of functions and classes from base Python that isn't run like naturally when you just type in Python. There is a bunch of different packages and modules and functions that it comes with out of the box, but we're also going to learn about how to find unofficial packages, or at least packages that Python doesn't come preloaded with because they're either too bloated or something to that effect, but also look at unofficial ones too through code repositories like GitHub. So this is a much more of a practical class. Again, there's not going to be much in the way of syntax. I'm not going to teach you syntax and draw things out because it's really too simple to spend that much time on it. What you are going to learn today, though, is you're going to learn how to import and load libraries and functions using the import function in Python. You're going to learn how to install official libraries or good libraries not originally included in base Python. We're going to install pandas specifically so you can see what that looks like. And then lastly, we're going to learn how to install unofficial libraries through code repository websites where you can go in, like run a pip command or some other kind of command, and it'll pre-install everything so you can then learn the readmes and try and run some unofficial stuff yourself, okay? So here are our definitions for this class. First off, when we talk about libraries, we're basically talking about libraries and packages, essentially, are just collections of functions that people have written already that are out there on the internet. And those functions can sometimes build on functions that already exist in base Python or some other unofficial ones. But essentially, libraries and packages are just code that people have pre-built so that you don't have to do it. And the reason why that's so good is because usually the people that build this stuff are better coders than you at the moment. So, and if it's used by lots and lots of people, you should probably trust that person's code that's been really tested, through the metal, gone through rubber, through the metal, and people use it all the time for like official business stuff and things like that. So there's much less of a chance of there being errors or some logic issues with their code than yours at the moment. You might become a pro and be able to build your own and do that as well. But anyway, with that, we're going to also talk about using this thing called pip, which is a bash script or a bash command that you use to install libraries in Python. It's really, really simple, so I'm just going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to navigate some code repository websites, and I'm going to show you what GitHub looks like and become more familiar with that. Okay guys, so we don't exactly have syntax, but I'm going to jump you into a terminal right now and show you how to load a package and play with an example package, alright? So let's just hop into terminal right now. We know that we're in bash at the moment. I'm going to call our Python, and we're going to play with this one package called time. Now, at the moment, time doesn't exist. Let's see here, time, right? But how you import or install a module, I know that this one exists in default Python. You just go import and the name of the package that you want to import. Now, when we do time, there's going to be a bunch of functions that we can get it to do for us, like time.sleep or time.time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple more things around this. First, if you want to know what modules you have available to you in Python right now, you just go module, I believe. Help, let's see, help. Yeah, help. And we start from help, so we go into help, and then we type in modules space spam, and it'll take a little bit, but it's going to tell you all the modules that are currently loaded in your Python at the moment. I'm not going to run this because I don't want to take up a lot of time waiting for it, but if you press module spam, you'll see the current modules that you'll have available to you. Remember to exit out of help, just do Control D. So now that we have this time thing, I'm going to show you just a couple of functions of this. So we have this thing called time, and it's like a class, it's an object, and it has a bunch of functions that you can use with time. So if we go time.time, what it's going to tell us is, if we read the documentation, this is like the exact time to the second, or microseconds here. of right now. We set that time to 0. I believe it's like at 1972 sometime. Remember how we had Y2K? It's kind of related to when we set our time variable when we do this kind of stuff. So if we also do like then equals time.time, we can, you know, we can time things and how long they take. We go now equals time.time. And go now minus then to see how many seconds pass between me running this command and this command. One other thing you will want to know with the import function is that you can shorten the extension name here. It's called time at the moment, but what if it's a really long one or we're always typing in time all the time? You can go import time as, and using this as language, you can then name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it t. So now we go t.time, and it does the same thing. Okay, so that's just learning how to import functions and modules. If you want to know what is available from those functions, you call the class t dot and then press tab, and it's going to show you a set of things that is a set of functions that is available. Sleep will make your Python wait a certain amount of seconds before it will take another command. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. So that sleeps for 4 seconds before it can select another command, which can be very useful when doing something like, let's say, web scraping. Okay, so now that you've kind of learned the syntax of how to import a function, I didn't want to write this all out because it was really too simple for that. It's a one-liner right here. You go import the exact name of the module when you look at modules.spam, and then you can rename it to whatever you want there. With that in mind, guys, now I want to show you a little bit of something called GitHub, which is a code repository. It's a place where people store their code either to share with other people and like get them to use it, or to work collaboratively in teams of X amount of people. It allows you to like focus on very specific code blocks and push them up, and so that you're not breaking the code base that is like can actually run while you're adjusting it. So I'm going to go into a browser. Here we are. I'm going to show you what GitHub looks like. This is my GitHub, guys. So this is my page. This is really important for data scientists and coders. You use a repo like GitHub to show your abilities and to show how you can code. You'll see on mine that it's like, oh, okay, I have this API thing. It uses JavaScript. I have a Python thing. I have a Jupyter notebook. So it knows and colors things appropriately and can give you some statistics about yourself. If we go into my repositories here, you'll see some of them here, but I'm going to actually show you, a really well-developed repository, which is a Python Twitch module. If you're familiar with the website Twitch, what this allows you to do is it allows you to do like a bunch of functions on their API where you can like essentially, gather some chat logs or gather, how many people have populated this one channel, who populated it, all that kind of stuff. You can look at what is available in this package or in this repository by going to the README. The README tells you how to install this library. So he says use that pip thing I was alluding to earlier that we're going to talk a little bit more about. And then you can look at all the different features therein that you can use. You then want to maybe look at let's look at the code base a little bit. So it should be under Twitch here. And look at all these different Python scripts that we can look at. So we have a scraper here, we have an API, we have something that's doing queries. Look at all this. So it has like a Twitch. We see that it's importing some Twitch stuff, and we have classes and all these different functions here. It's really quite fancy, and you're going to get used to reading this stuff and understanding what it actually means soon. But I really wanted to show you what GitHub is all about, because this is something that people talk about all the time when dealing with coding in Python. And to become a data scientist, you're going to need to become familiar with this kind of stuff, because you cannot code in a bubble. You're going to have to code with other people, and you're going to have to learn how to code from other people. So these types of resources are very, very useful, because chances are if you want to try something new, someone's already tried it and you can learn from them. So with that in mind, guys, let's also now just hop back into Terminal and learn how to use pip a little bit. So we saw from earlier that in this thing, if we wanted to install this library, we can use pip install python-twitch. So because we're in Python 3, we usually use pip 3 as opposed to just pip, which was for Python 2. We go pip 3 install python-twitch, and let's see what happens. it's going to download it. Look at this is downloading that GitHub that we just found here. So it installed it no problem. Sometimes you might have an issue where it won't install and it says like it has restricted access. So in terminal, if you include sudo, which is super user do, it might ask for your password. This is like your account's password. Put that password in and it might install just fine for you. Also, pip is saying to me, hey, there's a new version. I'm on 9.0, but 18 is available. Wow, so I should probably upgrade my pip, and I can do that using this. I'm not going to show you that right now, but I just wanted to highlight that, okay, pip is telling you to do a couple of things here. One thing we are going to install right now is pandas, because we're going to use it in our next chapter. So I want to show you how to install pandas. Pandas is a way of dealing with data frames. It's like, you know, you have an Excel sheet, and pandas is like a framework that will take an Excel sheet or like a set of data and organize it in an object called a data frame and have a bunch of different functions for doing that kind of analysis. So let's do pip3 install pandas and see what happens. Okay, so it's installing pandas and it's doing its whole process here. You see it's collecting a bunch of information and then it's going to install everything. This might take a little bit, guys, but I just wanted to show you how to install unofficial packages like this Python Twitch thing. We can import that now. We'll go into Python, go import Python Twitch as PT. Oh, it had an issue there. If we go to the documentation, it'll probably tell us how to import it. But that has definitely been imported, guys. So we can just look at the documentation and find out where to import it. And let's now do pandas here. It's PD. And that imported just fine. See that? I just don't know what the library is officially called in Python. We'll have to check the documentation, but it's definitely there. Don't you worry. Okay. With that all said, I think we have learned everything we need to know about packages, looking at packages, installing packages, calling them. We now have PD here that we can do all these different functions on. Not all of them are being shown here even, it's just most of them. And then we also learned a little bit about pip. So let's just do a recap, guys. So today we learned about the syntax of the import command, how to import a function once it's been installed, and how to rename it so that we don't have to write out these long statements every time we want to call the functions within it. We also learned how to install new libraries using pip and like official libraries, but also unofficial libraries in GitHub, like that Python Twitch library. So we learned a little bit about repositories and why they're important and why you should know about them as well. Okay, guys, with that, let's call it. Thank you very much for listening to this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.